and welcome to the studio. It's demo day, time for another demo, and I'm going to switch it up today and we're going to have a little fun with an unusual subject. We're going to move away from landscapes today, and I'm going to paint my annual snowman, but this time I'm going to paint it as a demo. If you are new to the group or new to me, just let you know, I paint a snowman every December, a different snowman. I have to brainstorm on how I want to design the snowman. Last year's snowman, can we see this? Last year's snowman was shopping at Dakota Pastels and did some damage. I've done a plein air snowman. I'm gonna try to find the photos of the past snowmen and leave it in the description so you can see them. But it's just a fun thing for me to do. I usually do them 5x7 or 6x8, no larger than that. They are great for holiday cards. What I do for a holiday card is I take a photo and then get the photos printed at Walgreens or wherever you get your photos printed, and then you can order photo mount cards by Strathmore, and I'll put a link in the description. And all you got to do is take your photo, put it in the card, and you have a beautiful holiday card. I'll try to see if I have an extra, and I'll show it to you in the description. So be sure to scroll down and see all of those things. All right, so maybe some of you have been doing an annual snowman as well, or maybe it's a tradition you might want to start. It's just a lot of fun. And so I want to just share with you painting a snowman and how I go about it. So come on closer to the easel and we'll get started. So first thing I want to talk about is, let's move this guy out of the way. I'm working small. I'm working 5x7. This last one was 6x8. This is a piece of Luxe Archival sanded paper. I've already drawn my snowman. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Now let's look at the pastels that I'm going to use for the painting today. I forgot I had this, but yesterday I was going through some things looking for something else, and I found this tray. You get these at Dollar Tree, or they're left over if you get a deli tray. But it's a great way to store a particular palette. And I call this my snow palette. And basically it has all the colors I need to paint a snow scene. They're kind of mixed up. But I've got some darker values, some middle values, and then of course the lightest values. And they're colors. So we've got blues and peaches and pinks and violets and greens. These are all the colors that I use to build up snow. I also have a few hard pastels thrown in there. I may need to go and use a few more I have handy. I just have them on the side. But I found two other things that I think are going to be fun to use. So I'm going to do an opening. Can you see this? These are my very special $59 for 3 pastels, and that was several years ago. Pastels by Henri Roche from France, from Paris. They are probably the most expensive pastels, so these are the only 3 I own, and I thought, why not go for the gold? And I ordered the iridescent. This was a Christmas treat for myself several years ago, and I have hardly used them. Anytime you have a metallic pastel, they tend to be super soft and crumbly. So you know, it's hard to judge the pastel because they're so soft, but I thought these will be perfect for my snowman's theme this year. So I'm gonna try to use those. And then as I was setting up today, I came across my glitter snow, and I used this glitter snow for my granddaughter's gingerbread house. I make a gingerbread house out of cardboard, and she can play with her little figurines with it, and it only comes out at Christmas time. So it's this thick kind of paste, but it has glitter in it. And so let's see what we can do with this at the end of the painting. I think that might be fun. All right, let's turn our attention back to my snowman. So every year I like to have a theme, and I thought this year I'm going to have a Disney themed snowman. Why? Because it's the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World, and that's one of our go-to happy places when we go camping, and now that we have grandchildren, it's just been a lot of fun to take them along and see their excitement and joy. And we just got back from our trip where we got to decorate our campsite, and I'm going to try to remember to put a picture of that too. Oh, I've got a lot to remember today, but I'll try to remember. So we've got the Mickey ears, the Mickey balloon, and I'm going to give them some sparklers to celebrate. So the first thing I do, so if you want to do a snowman, the first thing I do, come up with a story, come up with a theme, and then with pencil, just draw it in. I'm using the white paper for no particular reason other than I happen to have a scrap of white paper. Usually I like to blend in the first layer when I use white paper. But if I'm painting a snow scene, then I don't feel as compelled because I don't mind if the white bits of paper peek through. It just kind of becomes a part of the scene. So the first thing that I want to do, with pastel, we always are working from dark to light. And that's the same thing if we're painting snow. I'm going to put in the darker areas and then gradually put in the lightest areas of snow. I do need to decide what type of day it's going to be, because is it going to be light and shadow? Well, I said I was going to put some sparklers, so it's going to have to be a nocturne, right? So if it's going to be a nocturne, that's going to set the whole stage. And I actually think what I'll do, because of that, is put in the sky first. Now when I do a nocturne, and a lot of you have requests more with nocturnes, so in 2022 we'll definitely revisit that. But when I do a nocturne, I do not paint with black. Like, I don't paint the sky black, because then it just looks kind of dead and empty. I've got to try to remember where his arm is. I use a dark value blue, which is also why when we paint a deep blue sky, I encourage you to not, let's see, there's his arm. I encourage you to not paint it as with the darkest blue you have, because what that ends up happening is it ends up looking like a nocturne. I'm just dipping into my Sennelier pastels over there to make the upper portion of the sky a little bit darker. And then as we go towards the horizon, I'm adding a little bit of turquoise. Don't worry about his arms. You can see that I have covered up some of his body and his arm. I can always put that on top of the sky color. Let's see if I can't make it just a tad darker at the upper portion of the sky, and then we'll let it transition into a warmer blue. So there I've set the scene, right, for my time of day, what type of day it is. It's going to be just a nocturne. I think what I'll do is add some of this blue and some of the turquoise for some of the snow shadows. And you might think, well, how could there be shadows? Let's assume that there's, you know, a light over here. So that way we'll give our snowman form. If we don't have any light source, he's going to look flat, and he's going to look like that we cut him out and just pasted him on the paper. Alright, so you might be thinking, I don't know. It's looking pretty rough, Karen. I don't know what you're thinking here. But bear with me, we're going to make this guy work. So we know if there's light over here, and let's just put a little bit of a reminder, a little yellow dot, then there'll be some shadow on the right hand side of our snowman. So I'm going to take a dull gray purple. Now I had put a vest on him. I think I'm changing my mind. And let's just make him all snow. He doesn't need clothes. They don't always need clothes, but sometimes it's fun to put little outfits on them. It depends on what your story is. Alright, so you might be thinking, well, how's it going to look like snow? I'm adding a little bit more violet in here. He's a little bit too colorful for snow. But bear with me, because we want to paint the darker values before we start adding any of the lighter values. So we're working from the darkest value that we think we want to see in our snowman. So here's a little bit of a bridge. It's a blue violet, but it's a lighter value. I'm going to actually pull it all the way over to the left side. Do you hear that scratchy noise? I don't know if the camera picks it up. It's a scratchy noise because I happen to pick up a Diane Townsend soft pastel. And Diane Townsend soft form pastel have a little bit of pumice in them. And the pumice is what you hear when it scratches on the paper. I'm going to add a little bit of turquoise to my shadowed areas and underneath the hat. Alright, so now he's looking a little kind of gray and dreary. It doesn't even really look like snow. But, again, hang in there. We're going to get there. I think what I want to do, though, is I want to come back and get his little Mickey ears. And I'm going to go old school. Any of you who've been to Disney might remember these old school Mickey ears. Nowadays, the popular thing is just the headbands. And they come in like hundreds and hundreds of different. But old school was just this little beanie with ears. And then I'm going to go ahead and put his arm in. And this guy was holding the fireworks. Or the sparkler. Let's see, I think he could use some buttons. And this is, by the way, just a dark blue Nupastel. And I'm pressing pretty hard so that we can get the, we need eyes. We want the dark to show up, so I'm pressing it pretty hard. So I'm going to go old school with the charcoal eyes. And then the little, we're probably going to have to come back and redo the details on the face once I put the lighter values in there. And he's got a carrot for his nose. We have to have the carrot for the nose. I don't have that in my snow box, so I'm just using the Sennelier, which is nice and soft. We'll add a little bit of light to that carrot with a little bit of a lighter orange. Oops. Alright, where are we at? Okay, so we've got our snowman shadow. We've got, he's got his ears on. We don't have anything in the foreground, or we haven't done the balloon yet. Let's go ahead and do the balloon. I'm just gonna, it's okay if this goes off the paper. It's just a suggestion of this Mickey Mouse balloon. But we need to, how can we make it like transparent though, right? If it's supposed to be transparent, I think what we'll have to do is add in some of that sky color. So it looks like we can see through that balloon. So I add a little bit of light and a little bit of the sky color so I can give it a little transparency. And then we're going to need to attach the string. Broken lines. Whenever we're painting fences, any kind of linear, I don't mean fences, I mean the wire, like barbed wire on a fence, grasses. If we can do a broken line, it's going to look more painterly and more natural than if we just drew a heavy stiff line. So that's where I'm going with that one. And I want to just outline this guy just a little bit. Remember, guys, this is fun, this is playful. It doesn't have to be perfect. The fun of it is just to play around and have fun with your story, with your theme. This is when we just get to take our pastels and for a change of pace, not be so serious about making a painting and making a good painting. What is a good painting? We talk about that a lot, but this is a chance for you guys to just let go and be playful. I talk about this in my in-person workshops, that one of the quotes I talk about is those things that we learn without, or we experience without joy. In other words, if we're frustrated or aggravated or unhappy or whatever, anything negative, we soon forget. Those things that we experience with joy, however, we tend to remember. So it's a good rule of thumb whenever you are trying something different or, you know, struggling, is just to remember that experience it with joy, and you're going to have more fun, and then you're going to have more success. All right, I'm going to, let's do the snow, and then we'll come back and finish our guy. Now, one thing about snow, and I've talked about this in some of my lessons, is snow, as it recedes, is going to actually get a little bit warmer and more colorful. So a dull pink is a great color for distant snow. So I have a dull rosy gray, oops, that I'm going to paint that snow in the distance. And I want to kind of pile it up, give it a little variety. As the snow comes forward, it's going to get a little bit brighter and lighter. So I'm going to actually come in with a pale, very light value yellow. I want to throw the foreground into shadow a little bit more. And the reason is it will kind of give us a better entry point to our painting, and it will make this foreground a little more interesting. So I'm going to just pull some of those snow drifts up around our snowman and just add a few little hills just to give a little bit more variety. Alright, now we have this purple snowman. We cannot have a purple snowman, so what are we going to do? We're going to turn on the lights. That's what I like to say. So I'm going to start in that middle area, and again, oops, that's the same color. Let's try this. So I'm going to start in the middle area with a slightly duller, cooler. I'm going to have to come back and redo our buttons. This is a cooler light. This is almost white, but it's a little bit dulled down, a little bit grayer. And I'm going to put that in first. And then I'm going to come in with a much warmer light. This is a pale yellow. This is the Diane Townsend, which I find work especially well for clouds, snow, sand, anything super light. And I'm just going to come in here and add some of that light. Now you want to make sure you have a smooth transition. So we're on the shadow side. I'm going to just go very lightly with my light, just to kind of soften the edge right in there, so that it's a better transition from the light area to the dark. If you don't do that, then it'll look like he's got stripes, and we don't want that. We need to ground him a little bit more. You see what has happened with that light, where the light snow meets the light on the snowman. So I'm going to just push in really hard this is just about white, this one, but it's a Sennelier, so it's much softer. And I can create that snowbank. And if that is not enough, I'm going to take some of the blue, pale blue, and just kind of put it at the edge so that you can see that transition right there. Alright, where are we at with our snowman? Let's reinforce his darker bits, you know, so his eyes, I'm going to just press in a little bit harder, fix his smile a little bit more, and his buttons. He needs a little spark in his eye, right, because even though he's not alive, so I'm going to come in with a white and make a little tiny dot. This is great practice for your fine motor control, to really come in with fat sticks of pastel and trying to get fine lines. You're not always going to hit the lines right where you want them to be, but you want to do the best that you can do. I'm going to just draw a little bit of a dark right under his chin, just to separate those two areas. Alright, so now we have a sparkler. How are we going to do the sparkler? Well, if you recall, we painted lights in one of our videos, right? So we're going to start with a darker orange. We're going to get a little bit warmer. It's lighter, excuse me. A little bit lighter. A little more yellow. And I want this to be like a sparkler, not a torch. Torch, right, torch, that's the word. How can we get it to be more sparkler like? I'm gonna just kind of spread it out like that. And the other thing that I can do is take my sky color. What are you laughing at?
It's like a toasted marshmallow.
Well, now there you go.
It's on fire.
We can make a toasted marshmallow. Well, I'm coming in with negative painting and making more linear marks like this, so it can look more like the sparks. But what else can we do? We can, guys, remember this is supposed to be fun. This is fun, it's not serious. We can come in with, have you ever got one of those, this pastel, look at that. It has such a coating on it that it's not even coming through. Oh, but you have Roche pastels. Maybe that's what it needs. It needs a $12 stick of pastel. What it needs. Some gold iridescent. Now, is that more sparkler like? I think so. It's a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, and now we've got a celebration. Let's add some silver to our balloon. I don't know about the copper. Oh, let's add some copper to his carrot nose. And a little bit of, if I was really good, I'd write 50 on his hat. So how can we do that? I'm going to put a little bit of gold, and I'm going to come in with my dark color, and I'm going to negatively paint so that I can kind of make it look like numbers. Doesn't have to be exact. We're suggesting here. Just suggest and let your eye fill in the detail. Alright, we are coming down to the finish. I've used my Roche Pastels. I have used, I've made it a nocturne. Couple things that we can do. We can try this snow paste. I'm not sure. This is an experiment. You know how I like to stress, when you don't know if something's going to work, you ask yourself, what if? So what if I tried this? I'm going to apply it with a palette knife. And I'm going to build up this snow. And we probably are not going to be able to tell. You want to be careful because you're liquefying your pastel. So see, I've already made it blue. I'm going to wipe it off. So just kind of, and where did I get this? I got it at Menards, a home, that's where I got it in Chicago, a home goods store. But I think I'll try to find a link to it. But it's gonna take a while for it to dry, but it does dry. Now, do we want our snowman to have this texture? Well, let's see. I never know till I try. And it's all about experimenting, especially when we're doing our annual snowman, because it's playtime. Oh, that's kind of be cool. Alright, I have 4 minutes left on this video. Alright, I'm going to get carried away, and I'm going to end up painting the whole thing with glitter snow. So I'm going to stop, because I will obliterate all of the wonderful things that have been happening. I do want to give it a little dusting of snow, so let's take a break and I'll come back. So I want to give a dusting of snow. I've done this in previous videos. I'm taking a pastel that I don't mind scraping and a sharp tool. This is just a banker's clip, and very lightly. That one's not quite soft enough. You have to keep your hand moving because you don't want it to clump up in one area. And this is basically just, the reason why I'm doing this is because the sky seemed a little bit stark, right? It was just almost too blue, and this is just kind of giving a little bit more atmosphere. If we want some thicker bits of snow, we're going to dig into the pastel and let some chunks land. Now, normally, the way I do this is I then take a piece of glassine paper, there's a big chunk, and then just rub my hand over it to set these pieces in. But because I did this glitter snow, I can't really do that. I'm going to have to wait till the painting dries and then I'll go ahead. The other thing though that you can do is you can take your palette knife. This actually works well, and just kind of push it down. You can see the thicker bits make like bigger flakes of snow. Yeah, it makes a little bit of a mess, but when we're done, let's see what happens. We got one big chunk right in his chest. Let's pick that guy out, and I'm going to put it back up here so we can get a better look. And there we have my annual snowman for 2021. It's our Mickey Mouse Disney themed annual snowman. Oh, you can actually see where there's little clumps. So I'm going to actually put it down and give it another dusting, and then I'll take a picture and we'll be finished. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it fun. I hope you try a snowman. It would be really fun to flood our community page with photos of our annual snowman and tell us the story behind it. And it'll be some fun reading and fun viewing. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.